Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Aurora. I'm a curator at Saatchi Art. Welcome to the photography tour for the virtual edition of the Other Art Fair LA. We'll be talking to the photographers Mallory Morrison, Alejandro Abeli, and Simple T. As a bit of background, Saatchi Art is an online art gallery representing some 100,000 plus artists from over 100 different countries. Our partnership with the Other Art Fair started in 2016. This partnership has been incredibly beneficial, not only for the artists, but also for us on the curation team at Saatchi Art as well. It's given us the chance to meet with artists that also sell on our platform and meet them in person, especially the case with the LA Art Fair. It's usually located at the Santa Monica hangar, which is just a few minutes from our main office in Santa Monica. Next, we'll go into a brief history of photography. Just kidding. But we will go over why you should buy photography and a few things to know before you do. First off, photography is a great medium for first-time buyers. Quite often, prices are lower than in painting or sculpture. Photography can also be a really striking medium that fits into many different kinds of collections and homes. Historically, photography is also one of the youngest mediums when compared to painting or sculpture. The first photograph was actually taken in 1827, which doesn't sound recent and isn't obviously, but when compared to the first cave paintings that were found over 45,000 years ago, something under 200 years ago, or a medium discovered under 200 years ago, really wasn't that long ago. With photography, you'll enter into a wide-ranging branch of the visual arts that has a really rich history. As a technical medium, photography has developed with the growth of technology, creating many different styles and movements as it's evolved over the years. So on the more technical side of things, photographs are produced in multiples, making it possible to buy works for a range of sizes, for a range of different prices and sizes. For example, the most expensive photograph ever sold at auction actually went for over $4 million, but you can actually buy editions by the artist, who's Andreas Gursky, for around $5,000, which is pretty unique. An edition is a set of prints made from a master photograph. As a general rule, the fewer the number of prints in an edition, the more expensive it'll be. A limited edition print is an edition that has a fixed number of prints, and this never changes. Alternatively, an unlimited or open edition print has no fixed number of prints, and so exponentially it can be printed out, that image. Photography also deals with a lot of different processes, different equipment and materials, so it's important to get familiar with some of these. Luckily, it's all quite interesting, or at least I think so. It's important to know the difference between analog or digital works and the various materials used to actually create a photograph. For example, a C print is actually made from a color negative or a slide and then sent through a process of exposure and chemical layers. Basically your typical and traditional dark room, red room situation. Digital photographs are made from automatic cameras, and then they're transferred to this digital file and then sent through a printer. But it doesn't stop there, because then there are different kinds of inks. You can use dye-based or pigment-based inks. You can also print onto different materials, different kinds of paper, different sort of metals, and even wood. These different kind of materials make unique textures and looks for each print, and they also determine how they should be displayed or stored. Generally, it's best to avoid sunlight or humidity. It's also worth investing in proper frames like UV plexiglass so that you can enjoy your photograph for as long as possible. In the case of a lot of the artists we have here today, most of them will have actually did the work for you and will have these artworks framed and under the proper UV protection, plexiglass, whatnot, museum quality glass, what have you. So in this case, you can actually take it home and put it immediately up on your wall, or rather, because we're in the virtual fair, you can buy it and then it'll arrive to your home and then you can put it up on the wall. Ultimately, with various different genres of photography, ranging from surrealist, street, to landscape and much more. There's a lot to explore and discover when starting your photography collection. So with that, we'll start talking to some of the photographers, in the LA Art Fair. We'll go first to room 1. I guess I should mention how fun the virtual rendition of the Barker Hangar is in Santa Monica. And I really like the pink walls. Our first artist is Mallory Morrison. This is also a really nice drop down here in the corner artist, so you can just go directly to whoever you want to see. In this case, we'll go to Mallory's booth. And I'll turn it so we have a nice view. So Mallory is based in Los Angeles, and she has a background in dance that I think really shines through in her underwater photography. She utilizes the weightlessness of water to kind of emphasize the dancer's form and create these really alluring images that play with light and movement. So your sound is on, perfect. Do you want to tell us a bit about your background? How did you first become a dance photographer to start with?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It's always fun to hear what other people think of my work and see if it's resonating. So so I was a dancer myself for 24 years of ballet until I had to stop because of a knee injury and just quit cold turkey. So throughout my life of just being around dancers and just having that be kind of second nature to seeing that beauty of performance and body language expression. When I got into photography, I was a hobbyist photographer growing up. My dad taught me when I was in middle school, but I actually really got into it in school and college. And we photograph what we have access to and what we see, and that was what I had access to, and that was my world. And I had kind of interesting access to dancers because I was within the dance department, so I could photograph performances and rehearsals, and then I kind of brought that subject matter into studio. Mm-hmm. And then found kind of pretty quickly that the studio was a little bit limiting for me. I felt that they were just kind of stuck in this cement box, and they were always going to be kind of jumping outside of the background or the lights, or it just was very confining with the studio setup that I had at school. And it's just sort of this moment before you're about to fall asleep, all of these sort of connections are being made subconsciously. And I realized that if I put them in water, that would basically eliminate my problem, because my problem was actually gravity. That I just wanted them to stay up and stay there, and I could move around in slow motion, and I could move around, they could move around. And so water was a solution and a tool to be able to create the images that I actually really saw in my head. And once I did it for the first time, I was absolutely hooked. And that was in 2007. So I've been doing it pretty much ever since. And only recently have I actually gotten back into the studio because I actually co-own a studio, which I'm in right now, in downtown LA called Moon 7 Collective. And we just have really beautiful, soft light in here in a bigger space. And so I'm able to kind of create that same sort of feeling outside of water as well. So there's one piece in my booth that's not in water.
This one here.
That one. Yeah.
I really like this one. It's beautiful. Speaking of your other photographs, I remember seeing one that looked like it was taken in the ocean. Or is that true? Did you do that actually?
Which one are you thinking
Not
about?
Here. It's one that's on your Saatchi Art profile.
Yeah. So I have only once shot outside of the swimming pool. And it was not in the ocean. It was in Mexico. There's these freshwater pools called cenotes. and
Hmm.
there's tons of them, and they go
Yeah.
down to these underwater caves and kind of all interconnect, and they're kind of like this Degas watercolor painting come to life with fresh water, but then you have all of these like lily ponds, and all of them are incredibly different. Some of them are more cave-like.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I actually got to shoot in there for the first time, just kind of branching out of my my wonderful soft light controlled environment
Yeah, I
pool.
was gonna say that's a lot of different variables to have to try to control, but
Yeah, yeah, it's a difficult process, especially starting out. There's just a lot of different things to kind of juggle.
mhm,
And even now shooting for so many years, there's always something that kind of comes up. But when I have all the other things figured out, then it's much easier to kind of adjust and make things work. But you know, the water is has its own personality, um, and I have to kind of we have to do it together to make the
yeah.
work happen.
Are are
uh,
you
yeah.
using the same pools each time? Like, do you have different locations that you go to, or do you
I
kind of have one
do.
you stick to?
Yeah, of the work that I'm showing here, there's I think 4 different pools or so.
Mhm.
Um, and I have just recently been able to find a pool. A fellow underwater photographer, Brett Stanley in Long Beach, has built a pool for
Just
shooting
for this?
underwater.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
so
cool.
it's absolute, and he keeps it really clean. And I have to have it be really warm, so I actually shoot in the pool that's 90 degrees. So it's kind of like a
Oh
big
my gosh.
bathtub. I know it sounds really hot, especially because I'm also shooting usually in summer,
Mhm.
but kind of getting in and out, and we're not swimming, or definitely not me, I'm not swimming laps, I'm really just kind of sitting in it.
Yeah.
um, so it's still below our internal body temperature, so you know, it is actually pretty comfortable at 90, and we want to have the models be really comfortable and relaxed, to have that effortless graceful feel, versus, you know, it's hard to combat what the body wants to do if you're cold and uncomfortable and holding your breath and trying to pose. It's
Yeah.
it's much better to have it be a really comfortable relaxing environment for them to be in.
Speaking of like
Yeah.
the what it takes to actually go into shooting the photograph underwater,
Yeah.
what is your equipment? Like, do you have a whole
Mhm.
entire rig set up almost, or are you just down there with the one camera and you kind of just dive down, hold your breath, go
Yeah.
back up?
So yes, a big rig, and I hold my breath. So I have my regular camera, Canon camera, and then I have it in an underwater dive housing
Mhm.
made by Nauticam. And so all of the buttons on that housing correspond to every single button on the camera. So each make and model of camera has to have a exact housing to fit that. And
Wow.
then I've got a cord to go out to a couple different lights that are meant only to be shot underwater.
Mhm.
Um, and then I mostly use the majority of the kind of lighting in there is sunlight. It's modified filtered sunlight, and so it's not direct. Mostly, it's not direct light. So I can create that really soft, beautiful light, kind of light the whole pool, and then the lights underneath kind of just give a little pop of light if I need it.
As
So it, yeah.
you're as you're working mostly with dancers, I would imagine model wise, it's probably quite easy to just if you have a specific kind of pose that you want them to do, just kind of telling that to them, and they can probably stick it for quite some time without getting too tired, even underwater. Or is it,
Well, yeah.
or is it more of a organic process than that?
Yeah. Well, dancers, so not only do I gravitate towards shooting dancers, because basically I'm a studio dance photographer.
Mhm.
That's basically what I shoot, but my studio just happens to be filled with water.
Yeah.
And so, you know, working with dancers is it has a language of its own, like literally its own language with ballet, with French. But
Yeah.
um, there is a way of communicating dancer to dancer that I think I basically can kind of shorthand communication with
Mhm.
my dancers rather than having somebody who doesn't have any dance experience shooting dancers and say, okay, go and pose and be pretty and do a thing. And then I'm going to take pictures of it. But having my dance experience, I'm able to envision how the body can move and then
Mhm.
also how can it actually get there in that water space. So it can, I definitely try to make everything look very effortless, but there are definitely, there's a lot of moving parts to get to those poses.
Yeah.
And it takes some very talented models that I've been very fortunate to have found in LA. Um, to get exactly what I want and have, you know, having that pose work and also have the the facial expression look really calm and comfortable. All of those elements
Yeah, while
together
you're holding
need
your
to come
breath.
together. Yeah, you need to make sure they don't look like they're holding their
Yeah.
breath or like a wet cat sort of thing. Yeah,
Well, we wanted to talk about Seven Sisters and Forward. Is there
yeah.
one you would prefer for me to?
Let's do Seven Sisters. There's a few different elements to this one. I've been trying to figure out how to be like succinct with it.
Mhm.
But as most of my work goes, there's usually a few different little themes going on, different stories that don't necessarily talk to each other. There's just lots of different things that can happen with posing underwater with the reflection that lends itself to a lot of great storytelling. So this one, it's called Seven Sisters. It I wanted to explore and experiment with having multiples of one person in an image. And so this is part of a newer series that I did with Linnea. The model Linnea Sanderman. She's a professional underwater model,
Oh, wow.
an amazing free diver. Um, I wanted to kind of experiment with, okay, so if there's one person in the water and we have one body position, okay, what does that say? What does that look like? And is that any kind of is there emotion happening there? A little story of where is she going? Where is she gonna, where has she come from? But then now let's multiply her, maybe flip her. Okay, now there's two of them. Now they're talking to each other. And so then I kind of kept doing that and then multiplying them and seeing how many different ways she can interact with herself, and having the exact same pose have so many different touch points, so many different moments in here that are interesting and intriguing. And I like the idea of having them be multiple versions of herself or different sides of herself. Um, but I've always been really interested also in the idea um, of siblings and sisters because I'm an only child,
Mhm.
and which was delightful to be an only child.
Mhm.
But I've always been kind of fascinated with that relationship of of a sibling, somebody that knows you so well, but and is also, you know, has your same, can have the same parents and everything. So I like the idea of this idea of these sisters together, and seven is a very lucky number for me. So having them be seven, and then I realized seven sisters is also a constellation. And there's a whole Greek mythology story about the seven sisters, and their mother was this sea nymph with great beauty and red hair. So, and it was just like this amazing.
Perfect.
I was like, okay, yep, all
Yeah.
these different things. So basically, there's so many different layers to this, and it really was born out of just this interest to see multiples underwater and how that interacts with the reflection of each of them, and just to have something that would look good really really big, and just to be able to see almost them like printed life size. So this
Oh,
one's 40 by 60. Yeah,
okay.
so it's
Yeah,
a
wow.
pretty decent size. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
talking about layers, I think the favorite part of your work for me is definitely the colors.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
There's just
try to, even if it is shot in the same pool, really kind of tweak the color of the water to
mhm,
be kind of like a mood, like setting the mood for the emotion and to pair well with the colors within like what the model's wearing or their hair. So really kind of pair with, so the middle one and then the two ones on either side are all shot same day, same pool, but the color is just slightly tweaked to, be a good pairing with it.
Yeah, you go from something so bright and kind of happy to something very kind of dark and mysterious, and it's impressive just by just a brief change of color.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we should we should move on to the next
Yeah,
art.
sorry, I was long-winded there. Thank you.
No worries at all. It was interesting. Okay, we have to return to the entrance, and we'll go into room 2 now. Here we go. Maybe, yes. And I think Alejandro's just immediately here. So try to get us in, oops, the best position. Oops. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Alejandro is based in New York City, and he does a really good job mixing reality and fiction in his works, in his surrealist works. They combine real and imaginary worlds, often featuring iconic and recognizable settings and skylines. So with that, you want to tell us a bit about your background? What led you to become a fine art photographer?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Aurora.
Yeah.
Well, the first I from Spain, and now I live in New York, and I'm a filmmaker and photography. And 10 years ago, I started the red line. Is the red line is my signature. It represents the line divide the reality and imaginary world. And in my work, I try to mix the reality and the dream worlds, because I try to make the people enjoy the life and stay happy with my artwork. And yeah, for now it's
it's going well. How do you think your background in film has informed your photography practice?
But my part of the filmmaker and photography, I try to mix a story behind the artwork and the pictures. All my artwork has a story behind the picture, and the car or the sky or the cloud is always a country I visit, a story I try to explain about of this. And yeah,
a lot of them are kind of reminiscent of like older California too, with the older car and the motel signs and whatnot. I think you, in pretty much all your photographs, you have a very distinct and constant palette of bright blue, but also kind of a dusty pink. How did that how did those two colors how did you decide on those two colors?
My color palette is normally blue, and this is like you say, and little pink, because it's two colors that represent of the men and woman, and mixed together to put a great piece. It's not all my artworks has this color palette. For example, in New York, or the playground is the New York picture. It's a different color palette, but in general, I try to use the blue and my signature in red. Yeah.
I think this playground work of yours is probably the one we are asked most about on the curation team at Saatchi Art. Do you want to tell us a bit about this piece, how it came to be?
Yeah, this is Playground Volume 1. It's a part of 3. And this piece represents our childhood. This is the first step. For example, this is in, I use the picture is no computer generated. It's the real sky, the real building, and after put together for the Fisher Price toys. Is that represent the childhood in the first state when the child play wherever he wants. It's no rules. It's no society to do have to do, and is the freedom I try to represent in this picture.
Yeah.
I
People
spend a
seem
lot
to
of
really respond to it and
in
associate
this
with
case, for
it.
example, in Playground and Playground 2 is
Mhm.
the same day. I spend a lot of hours to make the perfect picture for me, the light perfect for me, because it's not editing in the Photoshop. It's the real light.
Oh,
It's the
wow.
real sunset.
That's impressive. One more that I wanted to talk about is on the other side here. Oh. This one kind of breaks away from your typical colors. You have
Yeah.
instead a violet here.
Yeah, a little bit violet. Yeah. This is a perfect duality, and this is my favorite artwork. This is, for example, I can explain in this picture. Is a is a three picture in this artwork. The sky from Bali, the sand is from Cuba, and I make the car in London, and I put together, but it's as I told you, it's no computer generated. It's the real sky, the real sand, and the real car. In this particular piece, I try to represent the duality to my colors. Is the woman and man put together. It don't care wherever you feel or wherever you are. Is you feel better with your female part or your male part.
What in this case do the flowers represent for you?
In this case, the flower represent the ground to the life.
Okay, nice. I kind of originally thought it would be like the opposite to a car, you know,
Yeah.
because one's natural and the other one is man-made. A
Yeah.
little destructive
This
versus life.
this is in the real life is this picture is awesome because I print direct in aluminum, and you can when the light inside in the photography, you can see the reflection in the flower is like alive. It's so beautiful.
Do you have a video of that, or in your video do you kind of show that?
It's hard to see in the video. It's
Yeah,
better in the light in the life. You can see when
yeah.
the light change or when you move the artwork is so cool.
Okay, last question for you.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your greatest inspiration, filmmaker or artist wise?
Oof. Inspiración, ¿no?
You can take it all.
It's difficult to me say only one because all my art is minimalism and surrealism, and I always fall in love with a lot of artists and a lot of filmmakers. But if I say one, I love Picasso, for example,
Okay.
and Cézanne is great for me. And the filmmaker is when I grew up with Spielberg, of course, but I try is Nolan, for example, the imaginary world. Christopher Nolan is try to do something in the behind the stories. I think I can say three artists for me is very inspiration in my art.
Yeah, and you can see it a bit in your photographs. I think definitely the Picasso side of
Thank you.
things, like a
Thank
poppy Picasso.
you. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll
You're
move
welcome.
on to the last artist now.
Thank you so much.
Mhm. We had an artist in each room, which is good and bad. Uh-oh. Oops. Sorry, I had it pop up Okay, here we go. Enter room 3. And again, we'll use this little shortcut. There's Simple T. I really love that she chose this kind of, not periwinkle, like a dark blue for her background, and it really looks good with the pink as well. So Simple T is based in Germany. She has these elaborately staged photographs that kind of range from sad and melancholic to kind of bizarre and uncanny. She regularly features unusually and unexpectedly dressed people within these vast or desolate landscapes that are located all over the world. You can really see that here and here. If you want to come on Simple T and turn on your video and mic. Hi.
Hello, Aurora.
Hi, thank you for staying up for us. I know it's late.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Do you want to start by giving us a brief introduction, a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, so I'm a photographer. I am located in Nuremberg, Germany. Originally, I come from Romania. And yes, I have a background as a tennis player. So I was, as a child, as a child, I was playing about, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. Tennis.
Same with me, actually.
Yes.
That's funny.
And I was even part of the national junior team in Romania. So
wow.
yeah, that was kind of nice. Yes, I started photography in 2010. And the first photographs were just portraits, like the 3 that I'm showing in my booth. The other photographs are part of my latest series called Playing Games Around the World. And this series means a lot to me. So I would love to say a few words about this.
Yes, of course. Which one would you like to focus on to start? You said this one.
Let me just tell you a little bit of the background. I was this series is related to my childhood and my youth time. Because, like I say, I was born in Romania, at that time a communist country, and we didn't have access to any foreign culture. We couldn't read the books that we want. We couldn't hear the music that we want to hear. We not allowed to see any movies, and we were not allowed to travel outside the country.
And you grew up playing tennis in this environment?
Yes.
Oh, man. That sounds
my biggest desire at that time was to be able to live a free life, And so in 1989, the Communist Party leader was overthrown, and later was killed by the people. And I left Romania when I was 19, all by myself, and I managed to move to Germany where I'm still based right now. So in Germany began for me a new life, but I had to face a lot of challenges because I have to learn the language. I didn't speak a word in German when I come to Germany. And then you have, the German law was like, you have to prove every year that you have enough income to support yourself, so that the states don't pay anything for you. And at that time, I still have the Romanian passport, so I couldn't have the possibility to travel around the world. So it took about 10 years until I got the German German passport. And then I got introduced to photography by my former friend, now husband. At that time, he was taking already has taken a lot of classes in photography, and he teaches me a lot. So that was for me, you know, I saw the world with different eyes, and then we start to travel a lot. And
yeah, it looks like you really made up for your time unable to travel.
Yes, that. So, and then in 2017, I decided to start this series, playing games around the world. And the first place where we went to start this series was Iceland. So maybe we can look at that picture on the right wall with the two figures.
Is it this
The
one here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I saw this place in internet, and I was like, I have to travel there and to see this with my own eyes. And instantly I have this idea of these two, you know, figures that were playing in this place. So I start to acquire, you know, the clothes, and I bought in internet these Korean clothes, and then I was looking for swim capes, and I bought from the flea market these round pizza boards that they have in their hands. And yes, we went there, and we found this place, and it was a kind of difficult because the weather in Iceland is always very it's not stable. Now it's raining, and 10 minutes later it's the sun come up, and 10 minutes later it's raining again. And at that day when we wanted to shoot, it was a lot of raining, but for an hour or two the sun come out, and that was the small windows when when we got to shoot this picture.
So a lot of your little characters and figures, they actually wear masks.
Yes.
Why do you have them wear masks?
Because I just want everyone to put their self, maybe they can imagine, and I don't want a specific face to be shown, you know. So through this white mask, everyone can imagine to be maybe this person or to be in that place.
I love that you can just look at these photographs again and again, and somehow you find something new because they're so vast. Yeah, I guess, okay, we should probably finish up a little, but I guess one question is, how do you think your practice has changed during the pandemic? Has it helped? Has it made you more productive, or has it been kind of hard with everything?
Yeah, it was kind of hard because you know, to travel is the most. So but what I wanted to say, if you let me just show you the picture. Yeah, the picture on the left side, maybe I can say a few words about the
one above or one below?
Below.
Okay.
Yeah, so this picture, we took this one last year we flew to Turkey. In this one, this was a area in near this was area in Cappadocia, and I saw this place in internet, but last year, you know, because of the pandemic, we didn't have the chance to travel. But then in August, they opened the flight, so we managed to fly there for a week. And we discovered this place it's called Love Valley, and I wanted to make a picture with these balloons, hot air balloons, because this area is very popular for the hot air balloons that are flying every day, but only between 6 and 7 a.m. So if you want to capture them, you have to be up at 5:30 in the morning.
In that case, that's why you have the masks on, because you were too tired.
Yeah. But the thing was, so we discovered this place, and we saw that just a few meters away was a cabin, and a man was living there, and he was trying to sell coffee and tea for the tourists.
Mhm.
But we went to him and asked him if we can shoot there, and he allows us to do so. So the next day when we come, we get out of the car, and there were two big dogs that were barking very loud. So we were like, oh, what should we do now? Should we start to shoot?
Yeah.
And another man came up of this cabin, and he was really, really upset. And he was like yellow at us and said, what are you doing here? And I told him that we asked for the permission to be here. So he put the dogs away, and we tried to make the picture. But because we have this mask on, we didn't see if the balloons are flying over our heads.
Oh my God.
So we shoot about a half an hour. And then we look at the picture, and we saw that no balloons were over our heads. So that was kind of funny. So we went to the man, and we apologized, and I gave him some money, and he invited us to come the next day. So we did that for 3 days in a row. And at the third day, we got this picture. So I was very happy, because this was the only picture that I was able to take last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite an important photo. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go back to the entrance for a brief Q&A with the artists. If we have any questions. I don't know if we have any questions, so I think that'll just conclude the tour for now. The fair will be open until Sunday. You can also catch another Curator's Tour, Erin Remington's, tomorrow at the same time. As you continue to explore the fair and the other photographs and photographers in the fair, make sure to ask yourself key questions like what kind of photograph it is. Is it a limited edition? Is it unique? Do you love it? And I hope you really enjoy exploring the fair. And I guess, yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Unless I'm looking at the wrong place, I don't think we have any questions. So that's it for now. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day.